everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Vintage Racers Roundtable. My name is Ken Minott. I'm the president of the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, and on behalf of Lincoln County TV and MVRCA and my co-host Pete Silva here, we want to welcome you to the latest edition of our show. This is episode number 23. It's a program where we bring together some of the legendary racers and names in Maine motorsports and share a few stories and look back in the rear view mirror, or in some cases the windshield of their racing careers. Again, we want to thank Larry Seidlinger, Haven Simmons, and the whole crew here at Lincoln County TV, our participating sponsors, the Jordan family, for their help in getting this program put on the air for you. So today we are here, Pete, for episode 23. We're knee deep already in season number 3, and we've got a good one. We get some good feedback on our last show, the one with Russ Nutting and the rest of the gang, John Lazat.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty
Bruce
popular
Haley.
out of the box. Yeah, we did well to get Bruce here, and people were worried about Russ talking, but that proved not to be any factor.
Yeah.
And speaking of being knee deep, I think we got the group that'll put us there right now.
Yeah, this was little extra work and stuff to get this one put together, but glad to have these guys all here. Today we're visiting with one of the most influential and famous racing families here in southern Maine from over the past 50 years, a family who's found great success around Beech Ridge Motor Speedway, Oxford Plains Speedway, Wiscasset, among other tracks here in the Northeast. So it's a pleasure to have the Harrison family here with us today, or just a few of the Harrison family.
5 out of 13 races in that family here. But all 5 of these have won championships. That's why they're here.
Yep, absolutely. So
it's hard to even pick a place to start with this group.
well, I'm going to introduce the guys.
Okay,
First of
let's
all,
go
we'll
there.
get around the table here and then find out a little bit about them and get some conversation going. But directly across the table, this is the guy we've been working to try to get over here at the show past few times, and actually had to have a guy sit in for him. But
Yeah, he's been using his heart for an excuse.
It's
but-
called old age.
champion driver, crew chief, fabricator, member of the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame class of 2021, the Bandit, Bob Harrison. Well, glad to have you here, Bob.
Thank you.
Right next to you, brother, championship driver himself, and has some kids in the game now too as well. Ricky Harrison, good to have you here.
Thank you. Yep. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and beside you, with the scowl, a guy I know really well. There we go. Second generation of the Harrison family, and a longtime racer as well, championship driver from Oxford, Kenny Harrison.
Thank you.
Beside you, another championship driver, as we said, crew member, has his teeth in it for a long time as well, and actually won not too long ago either, Jerry Harrison.
Thank you.
And finally, right beside Pete, we have third generation of the Harrison family racing, and so you can smile when I say this, the only two-time champion sitting at this table, winner of 2 championships at Wiscasset, Michael Harrison.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. So let's dive into this. And I imagine we're going to have to go over across the table here to you, Bob. But did it all start with you?
Not really. My brother Chuck and brother Ken raced before we did, before I did. And because I'm 12 years older than Rick here, so Rick was just a, pipsqueak. Mm-hmm. But I kind of got told that I was going to drive a car from Maine Maritime. The guys up there in my class were going to build us a car to go to Beech Ridge. And I didn't have a very good driving record, I guess, on the road, and a bad reputation. But they asked me if I'd like to drive it. But before that, I'd already driven my brother Ken's car. I took it out in it was warm-ups at Beech Ridge, and the track was all oiled down. Well, because I didn't know that. And I kind of spun out and rolled it up on its side. So that was my first experience.
First time out?
First time out. But so after that, they get a car ready to go to Beech Ridge from up the Castine from Maine Maritime. And I was a little bit late getting there. So they had Roger Bertram. I don't know if anybody, I see him on Facebook there, but he drove the car, and I snuck in the back way and watched. I didn't pay to get in, but anyway. So after that, a friend of mine, another classmate, decided we were going to build a car together. And he wanted me to drive it, and he liked to drive it too if he had possible. So we built the car, and his uncle and aunt lived in Scarborough. So we had it right there in Scarborough at their garage. And well, we got the car built. It's a '56 Ford. And I drove it. Well, I was out there with it.
I've never seen a good clean first lap at Beach Ridge.
People forget, these are just street cars. We didn't know anything about, we didn't touch the car. We didn't set the car up. We put the roll cage in it and we go racing. Well, anyway, so I went out and we had a carburetor problem, and it really wasn't running very well. And I was getting lapped, and I guess, I don't know if it was a leader, but somebody run into me and hit me, and it rolled over.
You like being off your wheels.
Yeah. And so, it didn't hurt the car much. It bent the roll cage down a little bit. Well, the steering wheel, you couldn't, if you tried to drive, your knuckles would hit the bar.
A little bit.
Yeah, so I put a suicide knob on it and and came back and tried to drive it with a suicide knob. Well, we got it running better anyway. And somebody in Freeport asked me if I'd drive a car for them. It was an old Studebaker. Had a 327 engine in it, and I thought, oh, great, we don't set the cars up. We just jump in them and go. And so I got into that, and my friend was going to drive the other one. So we get out there, and it was him and I racing together, and backstretch, we hit each other, and over he goes. and I was right with him. And I said, well, that was probably the end of my start right there. Until I was still going to school.
Yeah.
We had like a month off from school, and I was doing this, during that part, and then I tried to carry on afterwards. When we were still going to school, so I built a tow bar in the back of my '62 Chevy. Built a thing for a trailer hitch, and tow bar on the front of that, and I towed the thing up to Maine Maritime from Freeport with at least 4 guys in the car. I think one guy in the race car. So I towed it up.
Those days.
Yeah, and we set it. We took the car in. And if you've ever been up to Castine, it was a big hill. Well, they changed it now, but a big hill, and the cafeteria was sitting down kind of low, and it dropped off. We put it up there. We were late getting there, so we were just hurrying, and the transmission was gone. So we left it. We left it in gear, but there was no gears. So and I parked my old Chevy, the '62 Chevy, beside it. Well, I got up in the morning, and I'm going down to eat my lunch there, whatever, breakfast. And somebody says, "Is that your car?" I said, "What, the race car?" Yeah. See where it is? Well, it rolled down over the hill and landed on some rocks right beside the cafeteria.
Wow.
And we had to get they had a crane that was down to near the ship. We had to get the crane up there and come up and lift it up. But that was a start.
Wow. So that was late 60s?
That was '68.
Yeah.
Yeah, 68 here with a '56 Ford.
Yeah. It was my junior year at Maine Maritime.
Yeah.
So then I didn't race until 1970.
So you saw what great success he had?
Yeah.
I got to have a piece of that action?
Just thinking the same
Yeah,
thing.
I watched them.
How much fun that is.
Chuck and Kenny, my brother. I was little, like he said, but they used to work on them out in the yard, and we'd hop in the pickup, head for Beach Ridge, one on the tow bar. Usually Chuck in the race car with a helmet on in case she come off. But yeah, that's how we got started, and then they threw me in one, and I wasn't old enough to get in, and they kind of fibbed on my age. I was 15. So they put me in a 57 Chevy. And I go, yeah, all right. Like he said, I was out there and there's cars going outside, cars going inside. I thought I was doing a great stroke of business, but
Then
well,
reality
I got her going. But then, geez, all hell broke loose. I come down the backstretch and that thing twisted around backwards down over the bank and went. Well, the axle come out. I'm
Or stock rear end. Just popped
Yeah,
out.
I'm sitting down there, and that's when Cal Reynolds owned the track because he's about 6'8",
Oh, yeah.
and I was about 5 foot maybe.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. He looked down at me and he said, "Boy, son, are you old enough to be out here?" I said, "Well, my brothers say I am."
Now, did you guys grow up in? You've always been around the Freeport, Durham, Pownell area.
Where we grew up,
Yeah.
Freeport, Desert Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was 76.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Desert Road was our test track.
I was
Yeah.
wondering if you kind of like
we used to
I did.
we used to
in
go
my
up,
youth.
Yeah.
take it up to the desert of Maine,
Yeah.
and back. That was how we.
I knew the back roads of Brunswick pretty well too. So.
Yeah.
I used to jump in with them. They go out, they get out, and none of them ever run very good. And in fact, when you got to the racetrack, they barely run.
Yeah.
But used to back them out on the desert road. I'd hop in down on the floorboard, and because big smoke show. They'd head up to the Desert of Maine because that was our only sponsor. Their only sponsor was the Desert of Maine. So they'd come down over the desert hill about 70, and she'd bottom out, and I'm hanging on for dear life. We get up to the desert because it's full of people. And they put her in low gear, and we'd idle around Desert of Maine on the rear quarter.
Yeah.
So that's a long span from the first, well, you had other brothers that raced first.
Yeah.
Because it's about 10
Yeah.
years from you to you almost.
Yeah.
8 years.
Chuck was actually the
Yeah.
first
My
one.
brother Chuck was.
Where is he age-wise in the group?
He's third. He's 5 years younger than me.
74.
So what made him just go into the races with your parents, made him want to do it before anybody?
I'm not sure.
no.
I think John Cunningham and I don't know, Mark O'Brien.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He always told me that he was the wheelman, so he used the racetrack for practice so we can get away from the
Well,
cops on the weekend. During the
his
week.
claim to fame is that he raced West Cassett, because I remember when it opened
He did
there.
when he started?
Yeah.
Chuck, yeah, my brother Chuck did. He raced
So-
West Cassett.
So that opened in what, 60 what?
69.
Was it way back then? Must have been.
Probably was.
If he raced before,
He was, Chuck was in high school.
Yeah, well, I don't know how old I was. I have to figure, but yeah, well, he raced there, but and he's actually a pretty good driver.
Yeah.
And
So-
he got hit or whatever, helped, and he went into the wall there, the front stretch wall, which was railroad ties.
yeah, I remember
Went
that.
into that, and he said, "Well, I didn't get hurt too bad hitting the wall, but when the bees came out of that wall," he said, he said, "I got bit."
And he strapped in while the bees.
Yeah, he strapped in. The
Jesus.
bees were on him. He said, I couldn't get out fast enough. But
Wow.
So
I never heard
after
that story.
you,
Yeah,
which
I
one it was, Kenny or Jerry? Which one of you guys started racing after Rick?
Kenny.
Kenny did, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, that was,
mid '80s.
no, earlier than that, around 82, whenever you had that first
82.
modified.
82 at Beach Ridge.
Yeah,
Between
82.
82 and 83.
Yeah.
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 Me and a friend of mine at school bought a car from Joe Bessie. It was a Chevelle, about a 71. And my friend Bubba Pelton, he helped me put the cage in it. We got it all together, and I went out for the first time out there, and my old man, his brother Kenny, he goes, "I think we would let Rick take this out for a spin, see how you're gonna go." I said, "All right," because he's used to that modified. Probably had 600 horse back then. He gets in it, and he went out there. He said, "I drove it as hard as I could go," and he was going pretty good with it. And he says, "It's up to you now." So I said, "All right." And back then it was creature feature for the limiteds because there were so many cars. And I went out there and started. I think we started near the back, but I ended up finishing 5th from the first. So that year,
Wow. That's
I
pretty
ended
good.
up doing fairly well. Didn't win any. The following year, I got in a pretty good wreck on the backstretch. I think opening day, Leonard Lucia hit me. And somebody lost an engine, and all those pipes that me and Bubba welded in, them water pipes and all that with a 6011 welding rod, they want nothing left of that car but the frame.
Well, I was going to give you
So-
another friend's name, but after that, he might not want to be known. Chris Horn.
Chris Horn, yeah, me and him owned it together, and we only had, I bet we didn't have $500 in the whole car. Chucky helped build the motor, and my father helped. After that episode, he bought me another car, and he said, "I'm going to weld the gussets in." I said, "All right." Well, I had to learn how to weld, after that episode, but that's kind of how I got going on it. Watching these still.
Now, what about you, Jerry? When did you jump in?
It was probably 96,
Seven.
probably 7.
97, you
Yeah.
built your first.
Yep. I
like-
started with an enduro car, and
Yeah.
Was
What's your relation to these two guys?
these are my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to read this statement because
Okay.
you'll have. Built my first limit in 1997 at my place of work in my boss's shop at Casco Exchange, Dodo Brockman. So before we go any further, you. So you had Brockman and Penfold, and you both act kind of normal for being around those people. As long as you do.
I was Dodo's crew chief.
Jesus.
Right when he hit the base
go
car.
to-
Right when you hit the base car.
Have you been to counseling or anything? So I love this part. I know we got to move along. Didn't have a jig, so we used 8x8 blocks and a transit.
Yep.
Boy,
done.
transit, blocks, and a plumb bob do a lot.
Sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah, nice. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's
I thought
all
that was good stuff.
Yeah, so we built that car in 97 and got my feet wet and did some tinkering on it in 98, finished second in points, and then finally won the championship in 99. So that's,
Yeah, with a motor, a Carl Hickson motor.
yeah.
I got to know him. He wasn't doing a lot when I was around here, but I got to know him. Boy, he must have been really good.
Yeah, he's smart. Smart
Yeah,
man.
smart guy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, you obviously got started a little bit later. Kenny's your dad.
Yeah.
So, watching him bomb around Beech Ridge and then
Watch-
Oxford, or
Watching him bombing around Beech Ridge, and then Ricky's boys, my cousins Jarrett and Chan, they raced. I helped them and going to the track with Dad and Ken. I just wanted to do it sometime, and I'm glad they waited until I graduated high school because I'd probably still be in high school if I had a car to work on. But Dad and Ken bought me my first car. It was a 95 hatchback. I went to Beech Ridge in the Beetle Bugs, and it was a good way to get my feet wet. It didn't have any power, rusted. Well, actually, my first track experience, we went to Wiscasset for practice day. I was riding around there, thought I was doing a hell of a job, doing about 20 miles an hour maybe. Dad said, "You got to turn that thing up." So I went out there and turned it up and put it in the wall, and destroyed the thing. We took it back and we fixed it. Raced that year at Beech Ridge. Then I sold it, bought a Prelude, went to Wiscasset. And that thing was fast and finished second in points 2015 and won the championship 2016.
Yeah.
Then after that, got Super Streets, went out there, totaled it first practice, junked it. Nothing left of it. You remember that.
yes.
Totaled it. And then Dad, Ken, and Richie Morris bought me a car. We still have it to this day. Finished, I don't know, 5th points in that
Yeah.
thing. Rookie year. Backed it up, won the championship by 1 point that year. And then ever since then, I've just been in the Super Streets. Haven't gone up, down, or anything.
I like what you did, especially in today's world. You know, your father and Ken helped you get your first car, but from there you sold that car to generate money.
Towards the next
The
car.
next car, then you raced a little bit there and sold that car.
To generate money
I mean,
to the
most
car.
people today just want go out and buy a new car for me or something. You know, I like
Yeah.
the way you did that.
Yeah.
That's kind of old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold my Prelude, and the car I bought, I destroyed it. Just totaled it. I was like, huh, now what do I do?
Keep digging.
Cry.
Yeah, I wanted to cry. And then a couple days later, Dad said, "Oh, we got a friend out there that's got a car in the woods." Like, great, this is going to be a nice piece, I bet. Got there, and it was a whole car, just needed the motor. That was the only thing I saved out of the car. I destroyed was the motor. So,
So, how many family members have raced or are racing?
13, 14 of us.
13.
13 of us?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's 14 if you count Sharon.
Yeah.
She raced powder
She
puff.
raced all the powder puffs at Beech
but,
Ridge.
but there was 14,
Yeah.
Wow,
13
That's awesome.
altogether.
That's nice.
That'd be Kenny's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
Your grandmother.
yeah.
Pete, dig in here.
Well, first, I want to. These guys are pretty good to talk to, but I got several phone calls from half the state of Maine saying we were going to regret this. You know. So, Bob, we're going to start. We usually start with the senior guy. We've been through everything. So, in '69, it's a little contradiction here. 69, no racing. Oh, you graduated and shipped out.
Yeah.
But also in 69, you built a 55 Chevy. You managed to win a heat race, so that must have got
Yeah,
the juice.
that was with Dodo. That was actually 70.
Well, I'm getting to Dodo. Hold on, you don't have to wait about that. But I like the way you said this, and it reflects to everything you guys have done, old school and family. And didn't work out of a garage, just the yard at my mother's and father's house.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I think we all started there at one time.
Yeah.
And then you go to Dodo, and you built a 66 Chevelle, a coil spring car. There weren't many of those.
Yep.
So tell us how that worked out. Both deals, working with Dodo and the coil springs.
Well, I let Dodo try it out anyway. And when the same thing, that they just oiled the track down. So he took it out and going around and decided he was going to go fast, and round he went. And he come in, he was all excited. This is fun.
Do you think you were going to lose your ride?
It's going to be a lot more fun. He'd make the big laps, but anyway. But anyway, we did. We built that car, and we still didn't know that much about racing. I mean, we weren't. I'd shipped out. I was right away from the whole thing there. I'm a marine engineer.
So what is that, 6 on and 6 off months?
Yeah. Well, I was on one ship for a year.
Wow.
I was on a tanker in the Far East, out of shipping out of the Persian Gulf and coming up to Vietnam, Thailand, up in that area. I was on the same ship for 1 year.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends in the Merchant Marines. One owned Brad Joseph's car there, the 21, and they were 6 on and 6 off.
Yeah,
I think.
well, it got down to that. Well, I was on for a year, so then I earned about 4 months vacation, I think, and that's when
You built the car?
we started doing the cars. But the Chevelle was in '72. I don't know how. Yeah.
But you must not have liked it too well, because it says here you went back to a 57 Chevy in 72. That would have been a
Well,
Leaf spring car.
Yeah. Well, I figured out how to make it handle, and this is where your left-hand side weight comes into effect. You couldn't drive the thing, through the turns. It was crossed up all the time, and so I said, "Well, I'm going to fix it." And I took a piece of railroad track that was about yay long, and I welded it right in the left rear
Yeah,
on the frame, and I went out with that, and it was like a brand new car.
I bet.
Yeah, it went good, and I, figured I was doing good. Well, I went like that, and then shortly after I was going good, I got in a big accident with it and did an end for end.
Jesus.
And when I was doing the end for end, I think it was Tank Cronkite, caught me, went on the roof with his bumper, and it ripped the whole roof right off the car. And then it flipped, and it landed, it bounced off the roll cage and then rolled back on its tires. And, Dodo come running out, he was crying. No rear end in it.
Because we were worried about you or the car.
No, you're worried about the car.
And scratched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had track marks on my helmet.
Wow.
Yeah, and I set up in the seat. We could have got it back, and I sat in the seat, and the roll bar was about yay high. You could look right over it.
Do you realize you've told us 3 racing stories, and every one you've been off the wheel?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why not?
that's how you learn. We keep these guys on their wheels.
So I got to ask you, because I had mentioned this in the other room. Everybody had mentioned if we're going to talk you guys racing, we have to start with your parents. So while you're doing all this destruction, you're talking about one accident, the roll cage is about down on the steering wheel.
Yep.
And another accident, the roof's off the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are your parents?
Said it was
Thinking
fine.
I think they
We ain't
got,
having a motorcycle.
I think I think they got used to it.
Yeah, well,
I don't,
They probably figured you'd be out on the street doing the same thing. You might
Yeah,
as well do it in a
that's
controlled environment.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were out on the street going up and down the desert of Maine. But,
Yeah.
but no, that's true. So it kept us busy.
I bet. So Rick, as we talked, your first race was 76, and it says 78. You built your own car and won your first race. What was that?
Yeah, that was a Chevelle 4-door.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys helped me pipe it up, Kenny's father. And I was a senior in high school.
Jesus, you guys.
Yeah,
Started
and
young,
then,
didn't you?
yeah, I didn't have no license. Ken Farley used to haul the car to the track for me. Ken Farley, which, because is still with us, but Elwin Curtis, he's still sponsors.
So what was the car?
It was a
The
60.
four-door Chevelle.
Four-door.
Back to what he had, a four-link coil
Yep.
spring car.
Yeah, coil spring.
So did you lean on him to get it to work?
I learned all, yeah, well,
I mean,
I
lean
guess-
on him in conversation.
never
not
rolled
on the
over.
racetrack.
I drove it. It was hand over hand all the time. I didn't really have one that went straight. So,
We told him that the longer wheelbase, it's like
right.
a school bus. It won't spin out quite as easily.
Right.
So, it was a long wheelbase car.
yeah, then I wrecked it that year. I won a race with it.
Yeah, was that early on or towards?
Yeah, and I wrecked it. And Dave Davis and Joe Bessie, because we was all best
Couple
friends,
well-known names, yeah.
they pitched in and helped me buy a piece of
It was a
junk.
piece of
But
shit.
yeah, it was. But it went good.
That's the important part.
Yeah, they helped me buy that, and we kept going with it. So
Yes, I mean, I'll come back to you. We need to get started here. Of course, we're going to leave everybody at the table here. But before I forget, back to your parents. I mean, obviously, they
Yep.
instilled a lot of family stuff because you guys, I know a lot of racing families, obvious, being this age. Some of them do what you do. A lot of them just soon kill each other, is help each other. But you guys, and it has to be your parents' upbringing and how they did things because you guys have been. You've never let it. It's like everything time I read something, there's one of you guys over here or one of you guys over here
Yep.
doing something for each other.
they'd
Wow.
make sure that everybody ate because there was
Yeah.
5 or 6 cars
That was
every
mentioned
given
too,
day
by the way. That was
in the
mentioned
car,
in the conversation.
in the
too.
yard, and
Yep.
We used to have, I played basketball for Freeport High School there. My basketball coach come up one afternoon there or whatever, we were supper time, and we were all 5 of us. We were sitting at the table. Like I said, I'm in high school, so these guys, he's a little younger. Well, he's the youngest, and he come in there, and here we are. We're sitting around the table, and he looked like that. My father was there, and he said, "I know why," because my brother Kenny, his father, we both played on the same team. Kenny's a year younger, and he said, "I know why you two are so aggressive." He said, "Just watching everybody trying to get something to eat here." So I think that's, we were just a tight-knit group, and then the rest of us, we
Yeah.
always had Sunday dinner, and then we could talk over what happened at the racetrack.
they loved racing.
The couple people called out. Both of them mentioned when I asked questions, and they went right to your parents both,
Yep.
and they mentioned you guys. One of the things was you guys were always fed. They made sure of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More people there,
Yeah.
the better they liked it.
Yeah, it sounded it.
Yep.
So Kenny, you run your first season, and then this is 82 or 3, and a year or two later, what do you stop driving and you go help
Well,
these two on their cars?
we was only making $150 a week at work.
That wouldn't
And
cover it?
No, it got to the point where I had to do something, and
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to race, and no sponsors. So
Are you saying they paid you?
no, they didn't pay me. But I got rid of it and went to help these guys for a while, and then a few years went by, and Ken Farley stepped up and said, him and Roxy said, they got me a car, bought one, and we brought it home. And Roxy said, I can't even use the words that she said, but she doesn't swear. And this thing, we brought it home in like 4 pickup trucks. It was a Camaro.
So she wasn't
And
impressed?
she was not impressed. This is what we bought. So we ended up putting together, me and Kenny, and we had some sponsors, not big ones, but enough people to get it going.
Yeah.
And my career started there at Oxford with Herbie Brewer just before that, but that didn't last that long. And when we got hooked up, we was, once we got the hang of it, it took me a year, and then the wind started coming, but it was a long battle. Every night, almost every other night, late, 10 o'clock. If I did that today, I wouldn't even be able to work.
Well, but that's what it takes. I mean, we can talk
And
it to
it was
death, and we're all-
commitment.
we're all- like I said, we're all a bunch of dinosaurs, except for him. But.
You know. So yeah, it started back then, and me and Kenny have been together. He still helps me to this day. It's
Well, I
been
wanna-
30-something years.
I'm going to ask a couple other questions, but I might as well go back now. Ken's name pops up everywhere here. So he must have been, you guys must have been friends from childhood.
Yeah, I went to school
Yeah.
with Ken, yeah.
I mean,
We
he
went to
pops up
school
on
together.
everybody's page here.
Yeah.
You know, so he's definitely a Harrison diehard,
Yeah.
which
Did
is
he ever drive or himself, or did he just always
No.
was there helping?
Oh, he drives. He'll
He
tell you how to
drives.
drive.
He can tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump around here. So in '88, you did with HF Brewer.
Yep.
You did the street stock
Street
deal.
stocks and a charger.
But then again, here you go again. '85, you took off to help those two.
Yep.
And now it's '90 and '92, and you're with Rick at Oxford to win a championship.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, to a guy that's raced most of his life, it's mind-boggling that this guy just stops and walks over here and helps this guy.
Yeah.
I think it's
I mean,
cool as hell.
once everybody here races and
Obviously.
drove. So once you drive or drove, it's hard to be in it and not drive.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it, so I helped Rick. I helped Bob for a little while. I actually worked for him. And then Rick, when we was at Beach Ridge, and we moved to Oxford in 91?
91, yeah.
and we did okay. And then Rick ended up getting a new Pro Stock from
Donnie Latat.
Donnie Latat car. And that year we had a good team. Bandit was the crew chief, and I kind of like wrenched it.
Who was the crew chief?
Bob,
Is that the? Okay.
that was Griswold's
Steve
car.
Griswold owned it.
Yeah, that's good racer to be involved with, Steve Griswold.
Yeah.
He helped a lot of people, didn't he?
Yeah, Jerry was his paper boy. That's how he got hooked up with us.
Your PR man?
Oh,
Yeah, he was his paper boy.
And that's how that came about? Just
Jerry got talking to him. He says, "What are them clowns doing down there on the desert road on the driveway?" Jerry says, "Well, why don't you come down and find out?"
Yeah.
And he did.
So, was that Griswold's
Steve.
introduction to circle track racing with the
You
Hammer?
got it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he took some people to high places, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
He only lived about a quarter of a mile from us, and I'm sure he had some sights when he went by and looked in that yard.
So, it's still pretty impressive, though. You're still the 35 wins in that division. It's still the second all-time.
Yep.
There's some pretty stout people at Oxford. No matter what your favorite track is, they had some
Back in the
stout-
day, it was pretty tough.
and not just one division. They had multiple divisions, so that's
Yep.
that's pretty impressive. All right, buddy. So you started out helping Rick.
I did. Yep.
You started racing in enduros.
Yep.
How'd you like that? Did that really get the juices flowing?
Well, if it started,
Yeah, well, we've had some issues there. I raced against Kenny had one, and his brother Todd had one, and we all had walkie-talkies.
So did you run over each other or help each other?
No, wouldn't start. Sitting right up front, and that son of a bitch wouldn't start.
So you think that saved you?
No, I radioed Todd. I said, "I'm going to get run over here. You better push me."
So then you take 92 off and go help with the championship run at Oxford too.
Yeah,
Unreal.
it was with Rick. Yeah.
I'll always, listen guys, I've been around 100 years, you know that. I've been all over the place, up and down, I've been fortunate. Your family dynamics until the day I die will impress me. I want you to know that.
That's good.
Well, listen, some people do it for a while and it kind of splinters for
Yep.
whatever reason. You guys, it's like you never let off the gas as far as being each other's cover, you know. Jesus. So now in 99, let me see, let's back up. 97,
Yep.
you and Dodo were hooked up.
Oh yeah, he's always helped me.
You build his car.
Yep. And it was
Where were you here, Oxford or Beach Ridge?
That was Oxford.
Okay, on the
Yep.
asphalt.
Yep.
You win a couple races,
Yep.
finish second in points. That must have got
That was in '98. Yeah.
the juices flowing. 99,
Yep.
you're ready to get more out of it, and you go to Cop Hickson.
Yep. I need some power.
So what did that do for you?
Maybe spin the tires.
So boy, I went through that when I bought the banjo motor. You could see, I went to Oxford. You could see where I was the lap before.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
funny
Right.
car. The car wasn't ready for the motor.
No,
Did you
not
go through
even.
that?
I did,
A lot
yeah.
of adjusting.
Yeah, we did. Did some adjusting, got it to go, and I think it was the last points race. Him and I had
Yes.
tied for
That's a story on here
Yeah.
somewhere. And
I don't want to talk about it.
I do.
Guess that answers
second
the one
place
that's
guy
out.
never wants to talk, does he?
No, he crashed and I won, and that was that. So
Well, that's a better excuse than running over each other, I guess.
Right.
Unless he's the one that crashed you.
no, I didn't.
No. Tight battle.
Yeah,
It was fun.
there was a few Sunday dinners that we didn't talk, but we're over that now.
So then you moved up to late model racing.
I did, yep.
Now you're the guy that's telling me you're making $150 a week, you can't afford anything, and you're helping the family. You moved up to late model.
From this point on,
I think he's still on.
didn't
He's
put
still
any.
on Jerry right now.
Oh, I thought he was talking to me.
I did too.
Showing your age, Pete.
I didn't even late model.
Next year.
I think you look at you.
I was.
Yeah. All right.
I don't even have my glasses on. I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a break from you. All right, Michael. So Dad and Ken Fowley again.
Yeah.
We've been through all of that. Tell me what's going on with you now at Wiscasset. I mean, you've had a rough year last year.
Yeah, actually, that's been the best year because that's been the best year I've had in a couple 3 years. Because the last 3 or 4 years we've struggled.
So last year was all at Oxford.
Yeah.
This year?
This year I'm Wiscasset
Okay.
full time.
All right.
But you had a personal goal to, because of your family connection at,
At Oxford, I
to,
wanted-
to get there and win a race.
I wanted to get there and win a race. I probably should have won earlier in the year,
Yeah.
but I led all the laps and had a caution late to go and spun the tires, so that kind of bothered me for the rest of the year. It ate away at me. And
We've
then
all done it, Michael.
finally 250 weekend came, and I wasn't even going to race 250 weekend, and then I decided the whole family's going to be up there, everybody's going to be camping. Jerry was racing, Chan's racing. Said, we'll take it up there. I got tire money together, went out and started on the pole and won. I couldn't believe it.
Nice.
And it was not easy. Me and Sean Knight had a great battle.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, he runs well.
18
He
laps
does,
right
yeah.
side by side, and it came down to the wire.
That's
So-
a perfect way. Not only
Yeah.
is it a perfect way to win your first race against a tough competitor, you're doing it in front of the biggest audience in Maine or New England for the year, other than the Cup race.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest group of higher end people you'll ever race in front of.
Yeah, and we had by
Nice weekend to do it, really.
30 of us, 30 campers out there. We had a lot of people out there
Yeah.
that night, so it felt good to do it on that weekend.
Like I said earlier, I felt bad for you. You know, I kept track of you. Ran well a lot of times. Then the next Monday, I'd see a picture and
She
you'd
tore
be putting
up.
fenders on it, or a bumper or something. And all right, we're going to recycle. Which one? Back to Bob.
Yeah. Last champion on the dirt, the clay at Beach Ridge.
Yeah.
Talk about that year,
Well, that was my offset car.
1985.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I built a new car in 1983. Well, come back a little bit. 82, I kind of finished second in the first race of the year, and you know, it was my the same body that I had there, the Trans Am. But anyway, the Bruce Elder was there. He was the president of the association, and I went in with him. But there was Mike Minott. They paid $25 to have Bob torn down. Well, I said I don't. I finished second, and I was right with him, so I didn't say. I went in there anyway because I was the only one who knew anything about motors. That's what they said. And I didn't care about the motor. I wanted to look underneath the car and see what they had.
Suspension.
Yeah, all the suspension. And I looked underneath the back, and you know, he chopped it and brought it up, and it was in the rule book that you couldn't do that. Well, then that's when I really started reading the rule book. And I told Bruce, I come out from underneath, and I says, you know what, Bruce? I says, next year you're going to see a car come in here that's going to follow the rules in the rule book. So I built an offset.
Was that in 81?
Yeah,
Was that the
was
you built
80
with Pete McDonald?
It was 80,
McConnell?
83, but Pete owned the car. He owned the car in 81.
Okay, that's what you were going to quit in 81.
I was going to
It's
quit.
Too much money. You
I was
hooked up
going to
with
quit
him.
racing, yes.
Yeah.
And he owned it in 81. And then, like I said, 82, we went there. And I got it going good. 81 was the first year I ever won a feature race.
It says that. Yeah.
And I remember it.
Yeah,
So Chuck,
Was there a party?
Yeah.
We come home the next morning.
Yeah.
Would you go across the street in the parking lot?
Me,
Big
no,
fight?
well, we started there, but then we
Yeah,
went back
we
to
got-
the garage and
We were in Scarborough. We had
Yep.
a garage in Scarborough, so we were handy.
I remember that big bonfire they used to have over there after the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I built this offset car. I took it up to. I told Griff I wanted him to put a Camaro snout on it because I said the Camaro snout's the best thing going. Period.
still is.
That's what I'd driven all the way up through with the Camaro snout. And so he put the Camaro snout on me and run for me. And he offset it. And then I got reading the rule book, and I said, gee, it says the drive line's supposed to be centered between the frame rails. And of course, it wasn't centered. It was, it
Did
was
you add,
off
add,
to the
add
right.
another frame rail?
Yeah, so I got thinking about it, and one afternoon, I was raining and stuff, and I had it down. I had like a surface plate there, and I went in and I cut the rail off and moved it out, so measured the drive line, the drive shaft, and kept it equal, and I just welded it back up because the roll cage come down. It was about this far inside of the frame, and so make a long story short, they come and looked at it, and they said it's illegal. I said,
Because?
with the tech man, it was Larry Nadeau, I think, at the time. He came right down the garage and he looked at it and said, it's illegal. He said, you can't do it, it can't, it's offset. And I said, it's not offset. I said, the frame rails are equal. That's all the rule book says is equal. So anyway, it went on a little bit, and I bitched about it, and I got Ralph Cusack come down. And by that time, the body was on it, and I had mounted, had 13-inch rims, mounted the Beech Ridge tire on them, and with like a 1-inch offset on the right. Well, I took the tires and I put them on the car and I switched them from left to right. So Ralph came down, we had it up, and he looked at it and he says, gee, this looks all right. Got underneath it, and he said, boy, that frame's awful wide. I said, oh, it's coming out of a station wagon. He says, you're all right. So, yeah, he let me go. He let it go, and they let it go. But 3 years, and then they changed. That's when they changed all the rules. And we had to go, the tread width and, wheelbases.
Oh, yeah.
And you went, those are all metal bodies we had then.
They basically got smarter.
Yeah, well, yeah, and more expensive.
Yeah.
Well, a lot more work with the metal, but you have to buy all the stuff now.
Yeah.
We just went to the junkyard and got the stuff,
Well, I can remember, boy, those. Christ, a set of tires cost what a car cost back
Yeah.
then if you did it yourself.
Yeah.
Rick, when did you decide to go to the modifieds?
80,
Good looking
It's
show.
around 82, 81.
yeah, 82, I believe it was.
Yeah, 82 to 80. Well, what made you decide to do that? I mean, you're running in.
Dumb.
I can relate to that.
No,
But you went from a limited sportsman car
yeah,
to a modified, then you went to the late model division after the.
Yeah.
Usually you'd think it'd be the other way around.
well, Ken Farley's father-in-law, Stan Davis, lived next road over, and he watched me thrash and bang with the limited for a while, and then he made a bet with his brother, Dick Davis, which is Dave Davis's father. And Dick says, I'll bet you that he'll never win a race. And Stan said, okay, I'll bet you. Well, Stan took Shelley and I, we went down to Thompson Flea Market, and he bought a Leaf Spring car. And we knew nothing about Leaf Springs at all.
They weren't good on the. Was that dirt still?
That was dirt.
Yeah, they weren't good on the dirt.
If
though,
you knew what you was doing with them, they worked great. But
yeah.
so then Stan got Bob Bushley to build the motor for it. Well, we had way more horsepower than we had talent, and I can tell you that. Sandy McKinnon come over after a feature one night, and he said, Rick, he said, if you pull a spark plug wire off that, you'd see one hell of a difference. But I ended up winning that
50
year.
lapper. It was
50
In the
lapper.
modified.
Yep,
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah, you got some. I have to ask you this one. What's the Jordan's Meat Hot Dog Award?
Well,
Was it an eating
you would,
contest?
you would
a
have
hot dog
to eat,
eating
you would have to
contest?
ask that, wouldn't you?
That was
Well, you wrote it down.
the Wiener Award.
The Wiener Award. I got that at the banquet. Well, they had a red flag. It was 92. They had a red flag, and the red flag lasted a while, and
No way.
I had
Yeah.
to take a leak.
Somebody bring you a hot dog?
So one of the safety guys, we all knew each other anyway. I told him, I said, I don't know, I got to go to the bathroom. He says, well, you better hurry up. There was a porta toilet in the infield. I unbuckled and I run like a Dickens out there. Got back up, got buckled in.
Most of us didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that one before. But how does that translate to a hot dog?
Well, I don't know.
Imagination.
Yeah. So, before I leave you here, because were you teammates with Mike Rowe at the 250?
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
Well, not too good.
Great until the qualifying.
Well, we was well qualified, both of us.
Is that when you won the qualifier and you started third?
No, that was with John McLean.
Okay, I remember that name, John.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Mike come to work, well, he had his own trucking.
Yeah.
Well, me and him, because was racing together, and so my boss, Albert Blackstone, which sponsored me for years, I said to Albert, I said, why don't you have Mike come haul with us? He had an old Mac,
Yeah.
you know. So Albert said, yeah. So anyway, Mike come, and Albert ended up sponsoring him a lot. And Mike says, I got that other car there. He says, why don't we take the motor out of your modified after you race at Beechridge Saturday night? We'll put it in that car and try to get into the 250. I said, I don't know, Mike. Oh, yeah, it'll be fine.
A lot of work.
Yeah, so we did. We raced Beechridge and went home, took the motor out of the modified.
It's all wet sump stuff or dry sump?
It was, no,
Wet
yeah.
sump. That made it easier
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but anyway.
Yeah, nothing's easy.
Yeah, so anyway, we put it together, and I was all qualified. He was in back of me, and geez, next thing I know, about 3 laps ago, I'm in the wall, front stretch.
I don't even
But
want
it
to touch
cost him
that.
money. Spent the spindles, the shocks.
It was his car.
Yeah, his car.
What did he say to you after?
Geez, I didn't mean to do that.
Were you going pretty good?
Oh, well, we was all qualified.
Was that
They
your
were
first
taking
ex-
5 or whatever. I think I was 4th.
Was that your first experience in that size car with it?
Uh,
Was that the narrow tread width back when they were 60 inches with a 5-inch ride height?
no, I think they were 66 then.
Oh yeah, so
I'm
that
sure.
that was
I think
probably
they were
pretty easy.
66.
They changed
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I drove. My Eddas had a Dillon car,
Yeah.
and my foster sister's husband was his crew chief, Steve Roman.
Yeah, that's a common name. That's
Yeah.
a pretty big name. Yeah.
And they had a Dillon car that they could never make it go. So when I was racing modifieds at Beechridge, Steve kept asking me to take that car out, see if we could get it straightened out. Well, I ended up racing it a fair amount. I was racing both modified and that car.
At Beach Ridge? or-
Yeah, at Beechridge.
So what was that, a sportsman car?
Yeah, late
Go-
model or whatever they call them.
It's
back then.
asphalt now though, right? You're on asphalt by
Yes.
now. Yeah.
No,
You had to be.
Yes.
That Dillon stuff.
no, it was on dirt. It was still dirt.
Somebody bought a Dillon car and raced it on the dirt. The
Yeah.
first one I remember, Ralph had one, Nason, because when Bobby Allison used to come up, he drove it. That was in the 80s.
Maybe it was asphalt.
That was a Bobby Allison car, wasn't it?
I thought it was a Dillon.
Allison was hooked up with Dillon. I beat him for the pole in the bush race
I think
in
it was
Jennerstown, and he was in the
It was
Dillon
an
house
Allison.
car.
It was an
Yeah.
Allison
Yeah.
car, I believe.
And then the next one I saw was, after that, it was a Bush car, was the one Billy Clark had, which they didn't do a whole lot with it compared to the 66-inch car.
Yeah.
That was 3 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but that was the one you were talking about. bought
No,
from him
that
or
was
something.
a late model. I guess it was on asphalt.
It was.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
racing the white car, the
Yeah.
white
Yeah.
modified, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, then, yeah. So, yeah, me and Mike.
Jeez, you guys, go ahead.
No, I was curious too, because we're,
Yeah, I know, we gotta get,
I know.
you guys are like the redheaded stepchildren.
I do want to ask Bob about his 10-year stint as crew chief for one Bill Penfold.
I got that written down. I
you
wonder,
got another hour?
how did that come about? What brought that about? Were you guys already friends?
No.
So they banked
I
on
was
you not
working.
knowing
I
him?
was working crew chief for Corey Sanborn, and Butch Sanborn's son there, oldest son, and he got tangled up with some guy in Massachusetts, and they had a Bush car, a Bush North car, and they brought it back to, the guy owned the car, but Butch, I think, put the motor in it and stuff and paid for that, and Corey was going to drive it, which he did drive it. Well, I was working on it, and during the week, Bill and Ray showed up, and we're just looking at it. I think this was might have been 95. And they were looking at the car, trying to tell me what to do, and I said, whatever, I just let
Hard
it.
to believe.
Yeah, let it go, and so that year, Butch was having trouble with his business there. He was in Biddeford. He had a minor junkyard and was trying to sell racing parts and stuff, and was wasting his time.
Yeah.
And so I decided that I got to do something else. So I went over and see Ray, and asked him, if he full time on the Bush car, and he said, yeah. He said, I'll get back to you. And sure enough, he gave me a call and said, he said, I'd like to have you come to work. Starting, that was, I think, in the fall of '95, and they were headed to Lime Rock for the last race of the season. So I decided to get the motorhome, and I was going to go to Lime Rock and see him. And I really felt bad for Ray. He drove the truck for him. They didn't have any crew, and he drove the truck, and he's sitting down there in Lime Rock by the racetrack. He's going to sleep in the truck and stuff, and I'm in the camper, and I said, I got a place for him to sleep. I just went down and said, come on, Ray, come on up and stay there and whatever. So I guess I endured myself with him right then.
Well, that makes sense.
And, we started, and I learned a lot. I mean, I read a lot, and, I was talking to Laughlin and these guys.
He's a good guy.
Trying to piece together what we had. So over the course of those 10 years, I'll guarantee you I probably built or rebuilt at least 10 cars, if not more than that. We had road course car, we had a couple, short track cars, and
You ran good a bunch of times, really.
Yeah.
I've told people they can race hell about Billy, but it's not like he can't drive somebody.
Billy should have won.
Yeah.
I counted 6 or 7 right on, that he should have won, and something happened to him or whatever. At Seekonk, he finished. He led. He started almost on the tail end, and he got in the lead, and he led right until the last. I think it was 3 laps to go, and he got up behind the lap car, and I think it was Matt Kovalek got by him, and then the lap car got spun out or something, and they had a restart, and Matt ended up winning the race, and Bill was second.
Matt had a streak there. He ran pretty good for a while, that guy.
Yeah. But, Bill was, he could drive a car.
I think so.
If you ripped half the fenders off, he could really drive a car.
Yeah, ready to roll. Wow.
Yeah. I put a little shut-off valve, went to the right front, because I knew he was going to rip something off, and shut the right front
Shut
off,
the brake
so
off.
he could step on the brake and it would turn.
Go to the inside wall instead of the outside.
Yeah. So anyway, we just had a few little tricks here and there, but I Bill, was a good driver. They treated me well.
Yeah.
you know, I was employed by the bus company, and they paid me well, whatever, I don't know what they call it there, but extra $200 a week just as,
Yeah, it was
I guess
named
they give it to the bus drivers for travel expenses and stuff. And they gave me the extra money cash. So, you know.
Yeah, it must have been already. You stayed 10 years. I mean.
Yeah, well, I threatened one time, I went and got interviewed by a few people. I was going to leave. And I told Ray that, and he said, well, what can we do? And I just said, well, I said, you got a bus out there, an old bus he had in the yard. And I says, I'd like to have that bus, if you give me that.
Negotiations.
Yeah, I negotiated with him. And I said, I want, 20% of the purse. And he said, whoa.
But that's how that goes, really.
Yeah, he said, well, and I said, he said, well, 15 sounds better. He says, 20 sounds good to me, because it's we just went back and forth a little bit.
20 is better.
So that's what, so he in the last, well, probably half of it, he gave me, he paid me. I was making good money then.
Yeah, good. That's not abnormal, though. I've been around those people in the South. I mean, I'd watch those people just signing cards, and everything they did, there was a percentage. I don't care where you were, there was a percentage coming to you.
Yeah.
Jerry, you gave up racing for a long time, but then they pulled a car together for you not too long ago.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but still emotional on it.
Yeah. Now, how long were you out of the seat?
25 years.
Yeah. And was it your cousin Robbie that helped throw that
No,
together?
Rob Chandler.
Rob Chandler?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we threw it together and said, let's go try it. And I said, just want one more win.
Yeah. And that was in Beechridge?
Nope, Oxford.
At Oxford? Yep.
Yeah, last year.
So you're still racing this year, too? You're still going with...
Well, I gotta get my boat stuff done first, and then we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, Dodo.
And you two guys are obviously racing.
Oh yeah.
How's it feel to be in a pro stock
Them things are
on Maine's
animal.
fastest track?
I'll tell you what.
You're on
Stuff
the
happens
wheel
fast
all
down
the
there.
time, aren't you?
Yeah. Them things are a handful. If you don't have a full-time crew, chief, and a full-time crew, you're probably wasting your time. But
It's
I
amazing
tried it,
how that's
and
gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And over time.
I'll stick it out. It's tough for us because I'm a limited guy.
Yeah.
These things are a different animal than what I've ever even back when they're totally different. But I'll stick it out. And I told her, I said I'm gonna get a top 5 finish this year. That's my goal.
Came close.
I came really close. I was like,
P6 on opening day.
yeah. But they're fun, but they're a lot of work.
Yeah.
Says here you qualified for the 250 and 210.
I did.
Who'd you drive for there?
Ken Fowley. He owned he bought a late model.
Ken comes up a lot, but you got Steve Ronan, you got Billy Davis,
Yeah.
Joe. You guys have got all kinds of
Connections.
heavy hitters in your
Yeah.
through
That
the
was
years
back.
involved with you. Christ, you
Yeah.
got a who's who, half of them in the Hall of Fame for crying out loud.
That was back when it was LMS cars. There wasn't Pro Stocks or Bush cars. And there was 73 cars there. We showed up with just 2 practice tires and 4 race tires. We were third on the time chart.
Wow.
All those Canadian drivers and stuff. I go, really? They go, yeah. So we got a chance to qualify this thing. We qualified, got in, and about 10 laps into it, the clutch let go, and just a mess. But you know something? I'll never forget it.
You guys, we haven't even touched on your ACT deal hardly, but you guys, you've covered about every division. Super, you race supers, right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a super. It was
You had no desire. Well,
it was a lookalike. It wasn't. it was something I bought.
Cleverly disguised,
Something I bought, Pete, to help finance. I was running a late model at the same time, and I just bought it from I think his name is Jim Higgins from Kittery area, but I bought it for like $200. But there's no running gear, no nothing, just the frame.
so you bought a race car to support a race car?
Yeah.
Pretty smart.
Well,
I haven't been down that road yet.
well, back then, there was only, they were supers.
Yeah.
And, this one was I just had a regular old 283 engine in it and made it look good with the 3 deuces on it. And this one deuce was hitched up, so I only had 2-barrel carburetor. So I just,
Pipes on it.
Yeah.
yeah, and the
Those were
pipes.
the cool days.
Yeah,
though,
it just,
man.
it just,
Cool
it looked,
days.
it looked good. Put the wing on it, and it looked good. But probably the wing slowed me down.
All that horsepower.
But anyway, I'd go out there every week. And I was getting $100 for showing up with it.
So
Never
just
bought
put,
any
you
tires.
basically just put gas in it and just went and
Right.
ran at the back.
And
yeah.
I didn't buy tires.
Yeah.
I took everybody taking them off. I put them on my car and run them, and then I'd take the money and put it towards my late model.
That was like John Lezart with the
Yeah.
figure eight. He'd run the figure eight, make $100 and buy one tire to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to ask before.
Yeah.
I know we're into. Did you, as much, you kept moving up through the ranks rapidly. No desire to go on the Bush series at all, or was it just a money deal? Which
Yeah,
is,
that's what we talked about when, after I run the ACT, Grizzy and I talked about going on the North deal, and then, I don't know, then Brad Layton come into the picture, and that was it. They took the stuff out of my mother's driveway, and that
Yeah.
was the last we see of it.
the rest was history, huh?
Yeah.
I want to just hit you guys with a couple rapid fire questions, and we've already overshot the runway.
I'm
but
sorry, guys. We just talk more, man.
You always run number 37. Where did that come from?
No, I must have been. It was one assigned to me
Yeah.
when I started out there. I don't even remember the numbers of the cars when I first. I don't even have a picture.
And the nickname Bandit. Where did that come from?
Well, in '81, yeah, that's when I had a the other guy, this Bob Rankin, bought my car, bought me out because I was going to quit. He paid for it, bought the whole thing. I says, "You don't know what you're in for." But anyway, and it was a Trans Am, so I run it that year. And Pete McConnell owned it, took it away from him, and Pete owned it there in '82. And we was going to go to the mall, and I painted the thing up the black, like the Bandit car.
Yeah.
And it just nice lettering job, and put
It fit.
Bandit on the bottom. It wasn't to give me the name.
Yeah.
It was just for the car.
Yeah, but it stuck.
After
Yeah.
that, it just stuck. So they
Yeah.
just started calling me the Bandit.
Who's the best driver amongst this group?
The
Michael.
guy with 2 championships.
Yeah.
I don't have the wins they do, but I got the championships.
Well, you got time.
Favorite track?
With Beach Ridge, because that's basically all I raced.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Oxford.
I got Oxford. That's where all my
Yeah.
I like
successes.
both.
Kind of between both. I won championships at Wiscasset, but Oxford's like their home, so
Right.
it's
the
where I grew up.
Yeah.
Grew up that in Beechridge. I sucked at Beechridge, but I love Beechridge. I was horrible at Beechridge.
But there's a lot. Back even before I went back down south the second time, St. Clair had bought the racetrack, and I was coming down there, and Mayetta was coming, and a bunch of people. And there definitely seemed to be something relative between Beech Ridge, Oxford, and Wiscasset. Because the same people that ran good at those tracks ran good at Wiscasset and vice versa. So there must have been something in configuration, layout, process that must have been familiar to all you guys.
Yeah. I won the Oxford Beechridge Challenge.
Yeah, you won all kinds of stuff here. I just didn't know how much you wanted to talk about. The hot dog threw you off course.
Yeah.
So the three of you are still racing.
Part-time.
Well, wish you all the luck, and I'll be down. You all at Wiscasset?
No, Oxford.
You are, and you're at Oxford.
Yep.
So when the family,
And then his boys are on the pass tour.
Past
Your boy?
modified tour.
Matt Pass Mod.
shit, I wanted to mention him. I had his name written here. You want to give him a shout out, your son?
Yeah. Well, it's Chandler.
Jarrett. Is it Jarrett?
Well, Jarrett,
Yeah.
actually, Rob's boy, Robbie, built our modify. We built it
Very
from
sought after
scratch.
builder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we built it from scratch. He built that. And Jarrett, my oldest boy, drove it. And he finished second in points, had a few wins. And then he built the house and had a family. And so he said, why don't you let Chandler drive it? So Chan's been driving it since then.
Nice.
And Robbie actually put the snout on my car at Allen Berry. It's an Allen Berry chassis, but he put it on.
Yeah.
But one summer I did work with Robbie out, not summer, winter, because we were slow at work. I worked with Robbie, and I learned a lot about
Yeah,
fabricating from him too.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of young kids working on their cars anymore. That doesn't mean they're not good kids, but you're more of a throwback to when we all grew up. You had to do that, or like you said, in the driveway. If you didn't do that, you didn't go.
If I don't work on my car, I don't go to the racetrack.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
work and then go home and work on the race car.
Yeah.
If not, I'm working on stock cars, racing them little things.
So you started in '68. What's this? 24. How many years was that?
Too many.
We don't want to count.
50. So you're talking knocking hell out of 60 years racing,
Right.
aren't you?
Yeah.
And still doing it strong.
Yeah.
So that family connection's here for a while still, isn't it? That's impressive as hell, guys.
Yep. Well, we have a lot of fun. We take campers. I know Kenny's coming up this weekend with his camper to watch us race.
Now,
He's
at
not-
Wiscasset?
No, at
Oxford.
Oxford.
Oxford on Sunday.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be
So we
around.
have
Oh, that's right. You got the week off, right?
a good time.
Yeah, sounds it.
Haven's probably waving at us
Yeah.
through the window. I apologize, but he's used to us overshooting the runway.
So you can ask him.
Yeah, just give, as we mentioned, want to wrap it up by giving you guys a chance to kind of go around the table and thank anybody that's been special or instrumental in your careers. And
Don't forget the group behind you.
we have a studio audience.
I was looking at her. I'm going. I gotta mention her.
So you at least know where to start. So Bob, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, first I'd like to thank all the owners I had. You know, Bob Rankin, Pete McConnell. Pete owned it for like, I don't know, seven years. And Butch Sanborn and then Mark Tardif. And, you know, when I started racing with them, I started having some real good equipment. But I still did most of the work myself. And of course, my wife Debbie here, she, you know, just my financier, navigator, because we went to, you know, when I raced the Bush North there, we went to all the races right down to, you know, middle of East Gish there in Pennsylvania and Jennerstown there. And
Bob, how many campers you been through?
As many as race cars.
I bought this camper, my camper I got now, we bought in 2004, brand new, and I still got it. It's only got about 35,000 miles on it, but it had 17,000 miles put on it the first year when I was with Bill on the tour. But
He's not telling you about the gas pumps he hits and
Yeah.
The hot track we take a
I had
race around.
Lobsters in the tub when we won.
Yeah,
10-pound lobsters.
well,
we were gonna put them up in the tub.
They got put in the shower at Nova Scotia. But anyway, and because my kids, you know, and Robbie, you know, he started working for Dave Davis when he was about 16 years old. And when he got his driver's license, he came up, and Dave lived up in Durham, and Robbie started working, fabricating with him.
Nice.
And, you know, he was down south for, what,
Pretty
10
cool family
years.
building cars for family. That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, but
I love that.
and he still, you know, comes around and gives advice. You know, like
bet
I
he
said,
does.
built Rick's car there, but mainly
How about you,
I won't
Rick?
take up too much time.
Well, I got to thank my wife. She's been with me since I started racing, since high school. So I got to thank her because she does all the paperwork and she keeps all the stuff organized. And she had Kenny's stuff, some of his stuff organized. But yeah, some of the guys, I mean, like Steve Griswold, Stan Davis. But you got Ken Farley, you know, who's always around helping.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is my mother and father and her mother and father.
Yeah.
They was always with us.
That says a lot, really.
Yeah,
I think
shows.
I think Paul was driving on the lobster
he
trip.
was.
There.
Yeah.
And you pull
He
up
used to
and
be a Greyhound driver.
pull up with a motorhome in front of the liquor store in Nova Scotia there, and
Yeah,
about
well, one-way street.
13 of us bail out, and you know, but he was our driver.
Yeah.
Kenny.
Well, I gotta thank my wife also. She'd been with me since I started racing. Well, I started a couple years before. I met her in 82, and she's been with me since. And you know, the family, it's all family to me.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I think back all the old days and how we even did it. But without my grandma and grandfather, we wouldn't be racing.
Yeah.
So I got to thank them and Ken Farley, Dana Wallace, who owns my car now, and he sponsors Michael and I. I got Ellen Curtis, Curtis Longacre, he's been with me, he's been with me for off and on probably close to 30 years.
Yeah.
And my mother and father, so there's a lot of people I could name, but you ain't got
comes down
enough
to-
time in a
You're
day.
going to think of 20 more when you head out
Yeah.
the driveway.
Yeah.
That's just how that
A whole
goes.
lot.
Yeah.
Jerry, how about you?
Rob Chandler. Anybody that's just helped,
Yeah,
you know,
family.
family.
Yeah, yeah. Michael?
Well, same as Dad. Ken Farling, Dad really helped me a lot. My parents, they give me a place to work on the car. I get kicked out in the winter, so I can't do it in the winter. But the last couple of years, I've been able to keep it in there. But yeah, Dana Wallace, they're helping out big time this year, and all my other sponsors, Adam Daly, Minott Towing, and I know that Ellen Curtis, he helps me out a lot, and Dad's brother, my Uncle Todd, and I know there's a few more on there, but we don't have another hour, so
Yeah,
a lot of people help me. It's very appreciated.
We haven't even scratched the surface with you guys, but
Yeah.
No.
thank you for sitting with us.
Yep.
You know, I've known your name for years. I know your friends, and I just, through going to the banquet, just started meeting and talking to Bobby. And I didn't judge the rest of you what I learned from Bobby. But it's been a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for being here. Really.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
We
good
appreciate
luck.
it. Yeah.
Really.
We've got stacks and stacks of paper that could take us at
Yeah.
least another hour or so, and some great stories today. So we appreciate you guys kind of just dipping the pool in the Harrison Racing family.
Go ahead.
No, you go right
Is
ahead.
that a copy? Is
Yeah.
that the original deal?
That's the original.
Okay, I'll give it back to you. Okay.
Well, again, we want to thank our guests today, the Harrisons here with us today, and thank Pete co-hosting as always. Pete, any idea what we have upcoming?
We got 3 people coming next month that not to drive. Warren Hamilton, Jerry Babb, and Dale Averill. You know, the guys in the background, even though Babb drove a little bit, those are the guys that support everybody from the background that deserve their few minutes of acknowledgement. And they've done it for a long time. They've worked on every level of racing from this state to North Carolina, and I think it'll be a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have any ideas on who you'd like to see on the show, be sure to let us know, and we'll do our best to pull them together and, again, trade some good stories like we have today. If you want to see past episodes of the Vintage Racers Roundtable, just go to our website at mainvintagerace.org. You can also find out more about MVRCA and how you can help us with our mission to preserve and present the history of motorsports in the state of Maine. It is a deep, rich racing history, and these guys have all played their part in it. And it's through your membership and financial support that helps us fulfill that mission by putting on this program and other appearances that we do. So we thank you very much. On behalf of Pete Silva, the crew here at LCTV, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Vintage Racers Roundtable.